Hey, how we doing? I'm Andy, this is Spiders, and again we're out in the middle of nowhere again this week because I've still got the building works going on at my house, so it's a bit of a racket all the time. So yeah, I thought I'd take another walk. We basically come a couple of fields along from where I was last week. But anyway, today what we're going to do is we're going to follow up on my August breeding month thing that I did. And you may remember the first video that I did, and that was the Dolichothele diamantinensis pairing. Now this was a pairing, the male was a breeding loan from Chris over at Scanner Exotics, and like I say, I did two videos as it turned out in that month. There was one right at the beginning, one halfway through, which was a couple of, I think there was 3 pairings in all. Now I think it was round about the 10th or the 11th of September, I noticed that she'd laid quite a thick webbing over the top of a water bowl. So I made a note of the date and I sort of had a look, and I thought it was the beginnings of her possibly making an egg sac. Anyway, so I left her a day or so, I checked on her, and again she just made a thick layer of webbing over it just got thicker, this layer of webbing over the top of the water bowl. So I just, like I said, I'd made a note of the date, so I just thought, right, we'll give it 4 weeks and we'll see what goes on. So as it is, I've done that. I put another water bowl on the other side of the enclosure, which I was able to fill up, and she was left pretty much undisturbed. And I did notice as time was going on that this layer of webbing over the water bowl was getting thicker and thicker. Now it threw me a bit because, if I'm honest, I expected her to make your typical sort of ball type egg sac and just carry it around with her. I didn't realise that these can make this sort of hammock type egg sac. So anyway, 28 days later, I'm sure there's a film named that, yeah. But anyway, yeah, 28 days, I decided that I was going to have a look and see exactly what was going on. I thought either way it was long enough. If it was an egg sac, then it should be good to pull. If not, then we'll find out either way. So this is the footage of what went on. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in a bit. Cheers. Yeah, so this is where we were at the 4 week mark. You can see her just underneath it, and I've just basically got a massive webbing at the top of a water bowl. Now, like I say, it had got thicker, so by this point I was pretty certain that it was egg sac. But if I'm totally honest, you know, right at this point I still didn't know 100%. So it was just a case of doing, as you can see, just going in. Because it was like a hammock, I thought I'm going to try and take it from the sides. So you can see she's being quite protective, as would be expected. And it was here at this point where I could see that this was definitely an egg sac. And again, you can see the way that she's protecting it. Now, personally, I don't know many people that have bred these, so I did try asking around for a bit of advice in regards to sort of the nature of this sac, because ordinarily being a hammock, I'd have thought it might be better to leave them with the mother. But yeah, as we'll see in a little while, I'm sort of glad I made the decision to pull it. So you can see here, we've got her safely cupped over, and I'm now just gently sort of breaking the webbing that's holding it in place and releasing the egg sac like. I do apologise for the view of my right hand there, but yeah, it was just one of those things. I didn't realise at the time that my hand was blocking the view. So yeah, now you can see that's safely removed. Now, here I'd actually forgotten to press record as I opened the sac. I think it was just in my excitement because it felt a bit hard, so I was a bit worried. and as you can see here, there is quite a bit of movement, and we've got some eggs with legs, but again, for some reason, these seem to be sort of stuck together. Now, as I've said, I mean, this is a species that you would ordinarily keep quite dry anyway, but this was sort of made over the top of a water bowl, and there was a little bit of water still left in the bottom of it, incidentally, and I'd also added a second water bowl, so the humidity should have been quite high for what you'd ordinarily keep this species at. But yeah, as you can see here, we've got quite a few eggs with legs, and then we've got that little clump. You can see there's a couple of darker eggs in there. So what I decided to do was, I thought, rather than trying to break them all up straight away, I put them into my little incubator pot here, and what I did is I put them into my leopard gecko tank where the temperatures are quite high, in the hope that sort of that added humidity might help in regards to separating them. So I left it in there for probably about 2 hours, and then I come back to it a short while later. Now, this is what we were sort of presented with once I'd tipped everything back out onto the tissue, but as you may be able to see here, they are sort of breaking up a lot better and separating. Now, what I realised at this point was that what was holding them together was their old molts. Where they'd molted, it seemed that it was the old molts that were stuck together. Now, there was a couple of bad eggs in here, which I did pull out, and you'll see that a little bit later on. But yeah, like I say, they sort of are a lot easier to separate than the Orphanacus sac was, and in retrospect, I think maybe if I'd have done the same thing and put them in an incubator pot for a couple of hours in the warm temperatures, things might have sort of fared differently there, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, so there's no point worrying about that, and we just crack on. But yeah, like I say, what I did is I just slowly went through separating everything, and I pulled out each of the individual sort of eggs with legs that was looking good, and I put them into my incubator pot, and I prepared a second incubator pot for any eggs that I just wasn't sure about, any that were sort of partially molted. I did notice there was a couple that seemed to be stuck in their molts. You'll see there's one of the bad eggs that was, and there's actually spiderlings stuck to that. And you may see there those two dark eggs in the pile. Now, it may be that it was these two, or these few bad eggs that started spoiling things, but I suppose I'll never really know 100%. But as you can see, these all did separate quite easily, so I am glad that I used the little trick of warming them up in the incubator pot. Incidentally, I've kept these since then. I have kept the pots in my leopard gecko tank, because it means that I can keep the temperatures up. It's a lot warmer in there than it is outside at the moment, now that the winter is coming in. Like. So yeah, this here is all of what I considered the good eggs. These are the ones that were all showing some real signs of movement. They were fully developed. You see there is a few that have got a couple of legs still stuck, and a few that have got their molts still stuck to them. And this is the pot of the what I'd call the not so good eggs, the ones that I wasn't too hopeful about, if I'm totally honest. But I thought I'd keep them rather than binning them. Now, we've moved on a few days here, and you can see that these eggs with legs that are starting to darken. I think this is day 3, and this is day 3 in the not so good eggs, and you'll see we've got some properly developed first stage spiderlings there. So that was a really, really good sign, really positive. I think at this point there was about half a dozen. And again, we've moved on now. This is about 4 or 5 days on, so you can see most of these have now molted to that first stage spiderling, which is really good, because even the ones that appeared to be stuck as egg were legs, they all seem to be starting to molt out. And again, this was brilliant. So you'll see there's quite a few more of these, what I'd initially thought were the eggs that may not survive. There's quite a few of those now that have molted to first stage spiderlings. There is one at the top there that I do believe that's one of the ones that didn't make it. So yeah, that was it. We had a good pot and a bad pot, and as you can see, things were progressing pretty well on both sides. So now I'm going to show you a little bit of footage. This is from, I think this is about 10 days after I pulled the egg sac. We got that little pot of the not so good eggs as I thought they may be. Well, they were doing all right, and it was time to sort things out and add those into the pot of the good stuff, and basically just have the one little incubation pot going from now on. Like, so yeah, I'll show you the footage of that, and I'll see you at the end. Cheers. So yeah, here we are. This is at about day 10. So the first thing I did was I just went in, did a little bit of tidying up. There was a few, there's probably about 9 or 10 of these that hadn't made it for one reason or another. Mainly, I think these are the ones that were really stuck in that initial stage, the eggs were legs stage. These were some of the ones that maybe only had 1 or 2 legs that had actually freed themselves and were stuck in, but I'm not 100%. But either way, I just went round tidying things up, and as you can see here, these slings are really starting to darken up now, which is a really positive sign. And one there that lives to fight another day. I thought that one had passed, but it turned out I was wrong. Now this is the little pot. It turns out there's about 16 or 17 of these that have come through. They've all developed, they're all doing really well. So now's the time to add them to the other pot, and then hopefully we'll have everything together, or all of the good stuff together. And what I will do is I'll keep these few eggs remaining for another few days and just see whether anything happens, see if there's any sort of signs of development in regards to them. So there we have them, all in together, all starting to look really good. So it's just fingers crossed that these come on well and that these slings develop nicely. Yeah, so that's it. We fingers crossed. These are doing all right. I think we're at day 13 when I'm filming this, so we're nearly 2 weeks in. And as you can see, they are starting to get darker, so they're looking like they're moving towards that next molt, and hopefully things will be okay. Like I say, I have continued to keep the pot in another tub inside the leopard gecko's tank for the time being, because it's the only way that I can guarantee that I can keep the temperatures up. The weather's changed a little bit. And even though the heating's on, it's not quite giving me the temperatures that I think I need just to get through the next few weeks with them. Like, so I haven't counted them up yet. My plan is that hopefully I'm going to do a live stream, and I'll pot them all up and count them all up at the same time. So that'll probably be, I don't know, maybe a month's time. I don't know, we'll just see how things progress. It could be sooner. But yeah, again, a massive thanks to Chris for the loan of the male. Again, this is a 50-50 with him, so once we do know the numbers, half of those will be going over to Chris, and then the rest of them I'll have there, and then we'll just work things out as to what I'm going to do with them. There'll probably be some of these will go up for sale, and I'll keep a few back for myself as well, for future breeding projects and things like that. So yeah, that's me done. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, as I've said, this one, fingers crossed, will work out better than the last 2 egg sacs, and things will progress nicely. So yeah, cheers for watching. I'll see you again. Thanks a lot. Ta-ra.